Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Have you ever been in an experience or a situation and thought, nobody will understand what I'm going through? Having an anxious feeling about something, being in a leadership space where you've seen this thing before and you just can't necessarily talk about it. Not because it's taboo, not because it is something that you don't necessarily want to talk about, but there's some pressure that prevents you from speaking up, speaking out, and seeking potentially maybe the help that you need. Now, that's our topic for today. We are going to be discussing the pressures no one talks about, whether it is in your business, your leadership space, or just life in general. I am sure between me and Dr. Jacalyn, my co-host, we will come up with a whole bunch of different things that you might be finding valuable in life. And with that being said, let's bring Dr. Jacalyn onto the show and welcome her as part of the show today. Hello, Dr. Jacalyn.
Hello, Mariska. What a brilliant opening. Thank you so much. I'm very excited about this topic and to be here today.
Well, I am just as excited about the topic because I have found, especially with some of my clients, that there's stuff that we just, especially when we feel pressurized or some big emotional feeling with it, we just don't talk about it. And we think we shouldn't talk about it, which I sometimes find a little bit funny, but it's internal dialogue, right? So what I'm wondering is, when you think about going through your business or life, and we just discussed this a little bit before the show, what pressures do you find that you don't necessarily tell anyone about?
One of the things that comes to mind right away, just as a little backstory, is my father would always say, oh, you think you have it bad? You think that's a problem? Let me tell you what I experienced through my life. What you're dealing with is nothing. And, God bless him. He meant well with it. But you kind of get that mindset where you feel like no one is actually going to care about what you have to say because what they're going through is much worse. And you might even share something with someone and then they say, well, whatever, I'm sorry that you're going through that. But by the way, I lost everything I have, or my partner left me, or I've got medical conditions. And then you're there going, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be saying anything. So I think it has to do with judgment. That if we talk about something, we may be judged. And I personally have experienced this in business and personally. And one example would be, I've been obsessed about my weight for my entire life. And I might share this with someone and they'll say, are you kidding me? You're so small. You're so tiny. And I'm thinking, tiny, like I don't see myself as tiny. I don't see that. But, immediately it's dismissed. And so then I think to myself, well, I better stop talking about it. And other people might have feelings about the way they look and getting dismissed as well.
That is very true. And a lot of the times it is some form of dismissal. So either I think sometimes we think it will be dismissal, or we might have encountered times when we had dismissal. And then we sort of go, do I really want to share this thing? Would they understand or not? Not too sure about it. So what I was wondering is, in business, especially seeing as, I mean, you are such a great businesswoman doing all the things that you are doing, I am sure that you come across loads of pressures that nobody knows about. Mostly because, well, we don't want to always talk about it. But it might be good to talk about it. So what is it in that space that you find for you as a business person? You come across something and sort of go, do I want to say something about this or tell other people about this?
One thing that I found is most times people do not understand what it is I do. So now I just say, people say, what do you do for a living? I'll say, I'm in the media industry, because when I say I own a television network, there's no follow-up questions, which to me, I would immediately be like, wow, that's so cool. What's the name? What kind of shows? Where can I watch it? But usually it's just crickets. It's complete silence. So what I found is either people don't care or they don't know what to say. So therefore, I don't really talk about it at all. And when I think about some of the major decisions I've had to make in my life about my business, most of them were during the pandemic when I was taking care of my mother who had dementia. So I'd run things by her and she was my biggest cheerleader. She'd say, yes, I think that sounds like a great idea. So today I still have that mindset that I really have to make the decisions myself, because when I speak to people, unless they're in this industry, if I were to talk to you, you and I have had many conversations over the years. You've given me a lot of coaching. You would be able to relate to what I'm saying. And I think that that's interesting, because unless we're walking in someone else's shoes, we really don't understand and we just make judgments.
That is very true. And I think it brings about something else that I've been thinking about as I spoke to clients and just going through life in general. If we don't have the same reference field, at least to a degree of some sort, it is really difficult to tell somebody about an experience. And there might be pressures in that experience that other people just won't understand. It's not because they don't want to try to understand or they don't want to support us. It's just because they haven't been in it themselves to actually understand it. I think for me, one of the things that is a very vivid thing that comes up is when you immigrate. Now, if you have never moved out of your town, or you have never moved to a different city or state, they do have implications. So you get the experience of the moving and they're having to pack everything up and all of that. But actually immigrating, moving to a different country, is an experience that if you haven't gone through it yourself, is really difficult to explain to anybody else that hasn't gone through that specific experience. And there are pressures in it that you might not even realize until you actually take the step. And one of the things that I've noticed, and I've actually noticed that this as a pattern for any changes that we make, is the impact it has on our identity and how we need to almost redefine who we are in the world and who we are for ourselves in this new context that we find ourselves in. So, Dr. Jacalyn, this is bringing me to my next question. When you think about moving from corporate, where you were for quite a number of years, into your own business, what did you notice around identity rearrangement, shall we say, that you needed to do that wasn't necessarily as obvious for you before you even thought about going into business?
One of the things, and by the way, I want to let our audience know there's no script. I have no idea what Mariska is going to ask me, and she has no idea what I'm going to say, which is the way we like it here. When I was in corporate, I was part of a team. So I reported into someone. I had people that I worked with. And then when I left, which you know the story very well because you coached me through the whole thing, I really was sort of out of my element because I've been doing the same type of work in corporate for so long. You go in or you work from home, you do a certain number of hours. I sold a lot of travel programs, so I would travel. And then on the weekends, that's it. You're not working. You forget about it. Or at night, you forget about it unless you're doing some kind of entertainment event. But when you have your own business, you're on all the time. And I think that is something that's difficult for people to grasp, that it's your business, it's your name, it's your brand. And so what I found initially was there were not a lot of people who believed in me. And there were really two types of people who were envious, who thought, you know what, I love to do what you're doing, but I don't have the nerve to do it, or I can't do it. I don't have the support from home financially. I'm not ready to give up a paycheck. And then there were the people who were kind of on the sidelines going, you know what, we really want you to succeed at this. We want you to win. And people like you who've been with me since the beginning, since we started USA Global TV and Radio in 2021. You've been with me since Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn in 2019.
Way back when.
Way back in the dark ages.
Yes, please do not go and look for any of those videos.
They're all on YouTube, by the way.
Yeah. We have a historical record of everything that we've done. So you can also see the growth.
That's a great point. What about you, Mariska? Because you've been a business owner for a very long time, you've got an engineering background. So what comes up for you when you think about pressures that maybe you don't even feel comfortable telling us exactly what it is, but maybe an overall topic, a subject area?
I think for me, well, pressures wise, one of the things that initially was something that I needed to work through was this idea that I needed to have all the answers for everything, even before trying the thing out. And that it took a bit of work to actually get past that and realize that I don't need to have all the answers. It's okay not to have actually all the answers. I can work it out as I go. So that was one big shift that I needed to make. And then as we went into the identity piece of things, as I mentioned earlier on, just immigrating, so moving from one country to a different country, you already have identity shifts that you need to do. But moving from one industry to another industry, or moving even from one company to another company, right? Because we have company cultures and we might be very used to the company culture that we are in. And then moving to another one, we might need to make a few shifts in how we think about it, how we approach it, what works for us, what doesn't work for us. And initially what I found for me when I started my business, and people don't necessarily tell you about this, it's sort of a given, but it might cause you a lot of pressure, is the physical structure of the thing. Once it's your business, you need to figure out what that is for you. So that was the very first thing that I did. And then as I continued with business, you start to refine it. And where I'm now is not only does the physical structure work? So think about when you start your business day, when you finish your business day, what is good business hours for you typically? As Dr. Jacalyn said, you will most probably not switch off, but having at least some healthy balance around when you're going for exercise, when you are busy with shows or whatever it is that you are doing in your business. So that's the structural piece of it. But then what I'm thinking about these days is also the energetic piece of it, because I have found that in my business, although structurally most of the things work really well, there's energetically the feeling of the thing that doesn't necessarily work for me as well. I might procrastinate on it, not like doing it, whatever the thing might be, or not have worked out what actually in my own flow works really well for that specific item in business. So that's what I'm busy with at the moment. And Dr. Jacalyn, that brings me to another question that I'm wondering about. And that is for you, because you've been in business for a while, How has it changed over time?
My confidence has gone up exponentially. I believe in myself. I trust myself. I'm no longer looking for external validation. And that is a great feeling. And in addition, I have a second business where I do private advisory and coaching. And it is such a pleasure to know that I'm able to bring ideas, thoughts, suggestions that people find to be relevant and they implement them. There is no greater feeling in the world. But it was definitely I don't want to say, it was a stepping stone to get to where I am. It was a journey, and the journey continues because I'm not finished yet.
No, I'm not seeing you sitting still for very long in any one spot.
Very true. I don't see you sitting still either.
Thank you. So with that being said, when you think about other areas in your life where there is pressures that you haven't spoken about or you don't necessarily speak about as often, where do you typically find them showing up?
I have very high expectations for myself, and I don't give myself a break. And that's the thing that somewhat drives me crazy. And I've mentioned this before, but I think today is day 160. I wasn't going to count anymore, but I can't stop counting without any Chardonnay or any sugar. And I've mentioned this before. I eat the exact same thing every day. It is very boring, but it doesn't require me to actually put any thought into it. And what I struggle with is the fact that I work very hard. I'm very diligent. I get a lot accomplished. I work out very hard. So I'm always pushing myself. And I say to myself, you can enjoy yourself. I'm enjoying this and I enjoy working out, but to actually let your hair down, let's say just have 2 or 3 pieces of pepperoni pizza deep dish with a lot of cheese and a glass of Chardonnay or 2. Is that a horrible thing? But yet, because I have been on this mission, I can't seem to say, okay, let's stop and let's just relax. So I have this internal pressure on myself all the time. And it's kind of like what is at the core of it. But being structured and disciplined, I think, is a good thing. But at the same time, it's also boring. You want to have fun in your life where you just let your hair down and have a great time. But I'm struggling with that. So in all the things in the world, that's really not a big issue. It's my own issue that I have to figure it out. How about with you?
Well, I think I love that you are bringing those internalized, self-imposed pressures into our conversation, because I think that is, for me, the ones that I struggle with most is those ones. Even when I think about identity isn't something out there, right? It is my own self-concept of me in my world, how it works for me. And as you were talking about being, I know that you love achieving and getting to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So I am not very surprised that you haven't stopped counting. No, I want to see how high this number can go.
Exactly. You know me so well.
And it's not that there is a specific number even that you want to hit, right? It's just like I have started it. I just want to we'll just continue with it and see what happens. And one of the things that I've recently also done is a quiz on finances to see how we think about finances. And interestingly, one of the archetypes that they have is around achieving, or the accumulator. Now, the accumulator is a banker. It's somebody that saves up a lot of money. They're very thrifty with the way that they go about things. And what I did is, I know that I do this. I have done this since I was very little. So I do have a tendency to like to save up, see my savings grow, be thrifty where I can be thrifty. But it also causes other pressures for me internally, where I'm sitting with a little bit like the same problem that you have, Dr. Jacalyn, just shows up a bit different in the sense that I don't necessarily do frivolous and I'm putting it in quotation marks because it's frivolous that I have attached to it, right? I have thought about it as frivolous. So I don't necessarily spend money on frivolous things or do frivolous things. And to give you a very weird example of this is I would very rarely take long, luxurious showers. Not because I don't shower, I shower every day, but I literally go in, wash, get done what needs to get done, and I'm out. It's done. I don't do long bubble baths and long showers and long whatever, because in my mind somewhere, I am working on this, it is categorized as this is frivolous and doesn't really necessarily add any value to you or what you are doing, which now I'm starting to reevaluate, because what I have noticed it does is it actually helps me to relax. And lo and behold, guess what? When I'm relaxed, my brain actually works a little bit better. So Dr. Jacalyn, with that being said, what do you find as things that maybe if you do them a little bit more, even if you just give yourself grace to have that slice of pizza with a glass of Chardonnay, might encourage a little bit of something else that happens in your system?
I appreciate you sharing what you shared, by the way, which I knew that about you because we had talked about, but I didn't know about the shower. And I think that's something that many people can relate to, because you're told not to waste water because there are people in the world who don't have water, and not to waste food, for example, because there are people who are starving. But I also think that as we go through the spectrum of life and we start to get older, it's kind of like at this minute right now is the youngest we're ever going to be. And when you think about it, if we are lucky to live to be whatever age, you come up with a number, how healthy will we be? So we're probably at our best right now, unless we have some type of long-term issues, we're in an accident, whatever the case may be, and yet we don't enjoy it. So one of the things that I want to share is I grew up with a grandmother who loved to travel. She traveled the world. And I really didn't think very much of it. But as I've gotten older, I've been traveling and I really enjoy it. I like seeing other cultures, how other people live. And it's kind of interesting because last year I went to a number of places to actually shake the hand or give the person a hug who was with me on this journey on USA Global TV and radio. And it's such a cool feeling. So I feel like one of the things that I want to do more of, but I'm really struggling with because it costs money. There's other places like I'd love to come and see you. I'd love to go to Singapore. I'd love to go to Dubai. There are a lot of places I'd like to go. But when I start pricing out how much it's going to cost, then I say to myself, I don't know. Because if you figure to go from the US to Europe, and you can stay at an Airbnb, for example, and if it's for a week, it's for 2 weeks, you're talking about a $5,000 minimum amount of money for a trip between the airfare. You might be eating, food out of a bag because it really is expensive. So that's one of the things, to be able to do more travel, but I can't quite say, okay, let's do it. And then the other thing is, it's very hard for me to step away from the television network and say, okay, I've trained these people to be producers. You can run with it. I did that last year in Greece and it worked out very well, but I still would pop in to see how the shows were going. So it's hard to just completely turn your mind off because, and then I'm going to hand it back to you. Some of what I think about, people will say, well, don't you ever take a personal vacation? No, I don't, because I'm already enjoying myself. I don't know what else I would be doing because I already love what I'm doing. So that's what makes it so challenging. I'm not going to go sit on a beach. My mom had over 75 skin cancers. I'm not going to be sitting on a beach. I'm not going hiking. I don't ski. I'm not doing bungee jumping. Like, there are a lot of things I'm not doing. I'm just really happy with what I am doing.
Well, it sounds like you have already figured out vacation. You are sorted out. It reminds me of one of my friends. She loves the ocean. She is obsessed with the ocean. I think if she could be a mermaid, she would be a mermaid. And she's always wanted to be close to the ocean. And about a couple of years back, she had the opportunity to move to an island that in any one direction, even if you stay in the center of the island, it's about, I think, 2 hours max. Then you are at the ocean. Mm. She is loving life. It is paradise for her. And she hasn't thought one day about going back anywhere else to do anything else, because she has found her little heaven on earth. And it sounds like you have done exactly the same thing.
It's true, because if you think about how much time we spend saying what we're not happy with, what we wish we had, how life isn't fair, instead of saying, you know what, I get to make a choice every day. And I understand I'm not putting any type of unrealistic boundaries on it. If you're in a relationship, you have a partner, you have children, you're caring for people, you probably cannot just walk away. Although people do walk away. They put the parents in a home, they get divorced, they tell the kids they're on their own, whatever the case may be. And just go and find what it is that makes your heart sing. Because if you don't know what it is, you're not going to get it from someone else. And I think that's huge. We talked about this before. People will say, I'm looking for my other half. Please don't give me half a person. I'm not interested in someone who doesn't know who they are and what they want. That's really key. So I think making decisions, making choices that bring you joy, which doesn't mean you just say, well, I'm not going to care about anyone else, but you set boundaries and say, you know what, I'd love to continue this relationship with you. I'd love to continue working with you, but there's something else. I have a calling, a thing I need to do. And Mariska, I really believe that expression, if you love something, set it free. And if it comes back to you, then it's meant to be. And I think that's personal and in business, that things will come back to you or come your way if you let go of the tight hold you have on control.
Yeah. I think that's, speaking about pressures no one talks about, I think that holding on to so tightly is another, and again, internal pressure, right? We want to control it. We want to make sure it works out. We feel that we can't ask for assistance or help because of whatever internal process we are running. We think we might need to know everything in a variety of places in life because we grew up with parents that knew everything. Guess what? They didn't. But okay, that's what we think. And because of all those internal dialogues, we set up unrealistic expectations for ourselves and for other people. And it just makes us miserable, which is horrible. That's not a point of being here. And I'm thinking that sometimes I make myself miserable by taking short showers too. I need to do a little bit more longer showers.
That's right, because you know what could happen? It's like while you are showering the whole time, you can think to yourself, I don't know how many minutes is it. I'd like to stay an extra minute. I'm starting to get these knots out of my neck, but I've got to get out. And it's like with me, I'll say to myself, okay, tomorrow's day 161. It's going to be a weekend. May I go and have a glass of wine? Like, this is the most ridiculous story. I don't think I told you this because it was after our show, but on Saturday, I went and worked out. I got my hair colored and I was dressed up and I came back home, and I live across the street from a really nice area where they have beautiful restaurants. And there's a specific restaurant. They're only open at night and they've got a little combo playing. And so I thought to myself, I really don't feel like sitting here. It is Saturday night. I'd like to go over and get this Parmesan crusted chicken with macaroni and cheese and maybe a glass or two of Chardonnay. And I said to myself, but you can't because you don't eat that food and you're not drinking. So why would you go over there? What, are you going to have water and ask them for like a green salad with some tomatoes? So then I thought, well, I could break this streak and go over there and just listen to the music and just watch people. So what did I do? I made a protein shake and I got changed. I didn't do anything. So boring. I know, like, there's no one here to tell me what to do. I don't have to call anyone. I have to check in and say, by the way, this is what I'm thinking of doing. I just wouldn't let myself do it because I'm counting the days. But like you said, there's no end goal. I don't know when it's supposed to end because I put myself in this position. No one said you need to do this. And that's the whole thing. When you came up with this title, I was like, this is exactly what is going on. I'm under constant pressure from myself and it's exhausting.
Yeah. Okay. So we can evidently clearly see when we do this to ourselves. How do we break it? How do we stop doing that? How do we have that internal conversation to go, you know what? It is an evening. I went and I spoiled myself with all these other things. I can have my Parmesan and my macaroni and my Chardonnay. It's fine.
Well, let's go back to you for a second because I want you to think about this. You're in the shower, right? Maybe you're only taking cold showers. Some people will do that too because they don't want to use the hot water. And you think to yourself, what if I stayed in for, I don't know if you're in for 5 minutes or less, but what if I stayed in for 10 minutes? What is going to happen? Is the electric bill, is the energy bill going to go way up? Is my husband going to freak out? Am I going to miss out on doing something? I know myself when I'm staying at other people's houses, I am in and out of the shower as fast as can be because I don't know if they're counting. Sometimes people are counting. Well, she's been in that shower for 15 minutes. So I'm like, fine. I still have shampoo in my hair. I'm like, okay, I don't care. I'll just go with it. But so my question to you is, what if you did stay in the shower? If you're in for 5 minutes, what if you pushed it to 7 or 8? What would mentally be going on with you?
I think the big thing, so normally, typically the scheduling of the shower is shower first, then get on with whatever is planned for the daily routine, which also includes getting ready for the morning, making sure that my husband has everything that he needs, then he's out of the house, and then you continue with the day. And if I were to take a longer shower at that point, it would delay all the rest of this, and I have a cut-off time for having everything ready so that he can be out of the house because he needs to be at work at a specific time. I don't. I mean, I'm a little bit more flexible with my working hours, but he's not so much with his. So I think that is part of it, comma, and. There's no excuse or no reason for me not to do it afterwards at some point. Right? Going, well, I'll just have a midday shower.
Exactly.
Why not?
Exactly. So here's the question. If you think about how much time you put into this, and I think about how much time I put into that, where is it getting us except wasting time? And this is what we do as humans. We spend so much time worrying about things that may happen to us. Like to your earlier point, I've heard this so many times from people. So have you started doing XYZ program that you wanted to enroll in? Oh, no, I'm not ready yet. I still have some things to do. Really? What do you have to do? Well, I should get a certification in this before I do that. And before I can launch my business, I should do that. And they never get anywhere. You might talk to them 2 or 3 years later, and they never actually did it. A good one is writing a book. Someone will say, I've got a book, it's up here. Or I started writing the book and it's in my old computer that I don't use anymore. And it's under the bed, it's in the closet. But one day I'm going, and they never get to it. So then they dwell on it and think, well, one day I will. Is today the day? Well, what if I fail? What if it's no good? And we have all these stories that we say to ourselves. So it's the same kind of thing of what you're saying about the shower. And I can totally relate to that. Sometimes people grow up in homes where there's only so much hot water and you've got 5 people that have to get showered. And the last person's like, oh, you used up all the water. Maybe people are sharing one bathroom. So that's a pretty understandable thing.
Yes, it is. Come to think about it, that was one of the things that would happen typically in our house. The hot water cylinder is only so big and there's so many people that needs to go through said hot water. So you make sure that you shower early, but you still need to be fast. So that's most probably also where it came in for me. And with that being said, I love our conversation, and I know that I don't want to leave you. But it's the end of our show for today. And so much more to discuss. So with that being said, where can people find you, and who would be good people to contact?
Thank you, Mariska. I would love for people to go over to our YouTube channels, where all of our content is organized in playlists. USA Global TV and Radio and Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. We're on many different platforms, but I'd love for people to go there. And Mariska, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. And if you decide to take a longer shower, let me know. And if you decide not to, it's okay. Whatever decision you make is fine.
Well, thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. And I will be very happy to hear you clink a glass at some point.
I'll let you know.
Well, thank you, Dr. Jacalyn, for joining us on this wonderful show. And for all of you watchers and listeners out there that's also joining us for the show, if you would like to get hold of me, whether it is relationship or leadership related, you are more than welcome to do so. You can find me either on my website, which is journey2discover.com, or alternatively, you can also find me on LinkedIn. My contact details you can find at the top or the bottom of the screen if you are watching. Otherwise, you can email me at Mariska, Mariska, at journey, JOURNEY, the number 2, discover, DISCOVER.com. So with that, it is the end of our show today. Hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to seeing you all again next week. Until then, bye for now.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to TracyCramPerkins.com. Tracy Cram Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
How much of your value have you been giving away? Saying yes when the answer should have been no? Lowering your price to secure the opportunity? Giving more while receiving less? Over time, it adds up. Until one moment brings clarity, you've been giving away your value. This is not about working harder. This is not about doing more. It's about boundaries. It's about pricing. It's about respect. From Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck comes a direct and necessary message. Stop over-delivering. Stop underpricing your expertise. Stop negotiating against yourself. Because when you recognize your value, everything changes. Stop giving away your value. Boundaries, pricing, and the business of respect. Available now wherever fine books are sold and on Amazon. A film by USA Global TV and Radio. Executive producer Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Videographer and cinematic production Paul Garcia. Voiceover by Ed Wargas. Stop giving it away. Start owning it.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.